Tonight, more migrant caravan groups are getting closer to the U.S.-Mexico border. Some of them, including this group, have set their sights on Tijuana, right across the border from San Diego. All in preparation for their arrival, troops started shutting down lanes at border crossings tonight. Members of the United States military have been hard at work for days, preparing along the Texas border as well. Ken Molestina joining us live tonight in Donna after spending all day today in Brownsville. Ken?
Yeah, Doug, this is the Donna base camp. Essentially, this is headquarters for all of the operations for U.S. troops down here in the Rio Grande Valley. And you can see right over my shoulder, these are troops that are returning back to camp from their assignments earlier today. As you mentioned earlier today, we were about an hour away from here in nearby Brownsville. We were with the troops as they continued to their work to shore up the border. This is what the work looks like in Brownsville for Army engineering units. They've been spending their time stretching razor wire for miles based on recommendations from U.S. Customs and Border Protection.
Ready? Up. For us, it's great to be able to come and apply some of the engineer skills and capabilities that we have in support of a fellow governmental agencies.
The orders from the Pentagon will keep them here up to December 15th. President Trump has said as many as 15,000 troops could be sent to the border from Texas to California. For now, 1,300 of them are here in the Rio Grande Valley, and they'll likely spend Thanksgiving here.
Try to time down on that.
I signed up for this, and you know that going in that you're going to miss holidays or anniversaries or birthdays.
Military officials say they will not be enforcing immigration laws or engaging with migrants trying to cross illegally. Their work at this point is strictly to help provide infrastructure support like building barriers. The national controversy surrounding these efforts isn't something that is lost on these troops. However, if you talk to them, they'll tell you they're just simply doing a job.
The military presence, the way it is right now, has taken a community that's peaceful, that's happy, that's family. And now we're like, what's going on?
Michael Seifert from the ACLU in Brownsville has been a vocal critic of the troops' deployment. He says their presence amounts to political theater following a contentious midterm election.
The election cycle's over. It's time to move on, get those people back home. And please take your barbed wire with you.
While the caravan of thousands of asylum seekers continues to move forward, the troops will remain here on orders from the Pentagon. And so will questions of what will happen if and when large crowds arrive at our border.
I don't understand why they need to be here for this long.
So once again, Army officials telling me tonight that they will stay in place. They have no plans right now to leave this area. Of course, they're saying at this point they are not completely convinced that some or a lot of those caravan members will eventually make their way up to this border. So until they know something different, Doug, they're saying they're staying in place. Something else to point out, we confirmed tonight that Defense Secretary General James Mattis will be here tonight visiting the Donna base camp at about 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. That's the very latest out in Donna. We're live tonight. Ken Molestina, CBS 11 News.
A military camp in Weslaco is growing. We first told you about the troops moving into a vacated business off Expressway 83 Frontage Road and Milanos Road. It is the old Craig's Furniture location. The military has now fenced in a large portion of the open land next to the building. Lighting systems are now set up along the perimeter. The military says it will be a living area for troops.
It's a first-hand account of the situation happening at the Texas-Mexico border. It's where women and children are being detained as they wait to seek asylum in the United States. WNCT's Nicole Newman joins us now to tell us more. Nicole.
Ken, local attorney Leah Arnold just returned from volunteering at our border. She says it's an experience she won't soon forget.
It really is a place where entire families are locked up.
The place that Leah Arnold is talking about is the South Texas Family Residential Center. It's also known as the Dilley Detention Center.
It is in Dilley, Texas, which is about an hour north of the actual border.
Arnold, an attorney in Greenville, spent the past week at the center on a strictly volunteer basis. It was part of the Dilley Pro Bono project.
Because it's such a small town and it's so remote, they have a very difficult time accessing legal services for mothers who are detained in that facility. It was still very striking to walk in to a jail facility with all of that security and see little children running around. Every mother that we talked to was fleeing for her life or for her child's life. There is a lot of violence against women, a lot of violence against children, and a lot of police and government complicity. Any mother would relate to most of the stories I was hearing about the desperation, what it is that they're running from.
Arnold wasn't able to go into great details about the story she was hearing due to the sensitivity of the cases, but she did share some of the women she talked to were gang raped and had threats made against their children, some who were just toddlers. Arnold says these factors are what led them to seek asylum in the United States, coming from Honduras, Guatemala, and San Salvador.
These are people, these are human beings. They are fleeing violence, they're fleeing crime. They want the exact same things that most of us want out of life.
Arnold said she is already planning to go back as soon as she accumulates enough vacation days. Nicole Newman, 9 on your side.
Nicole, thank you. Could President Trump's insistence on funding the border wall implode any chance of compromise on a budget across party lines? Or is the president ready to play ball? Joining us now from both sides of the aisle, Senior Vice President for the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, Mark Goldwein, who served on the National Commission of Fiscal Responsibility under President Obama. And we're also joined by the Heritage Foundation's Romina Bacha, a leading fiscal and economic expert. She often advises members of Congress on fiscal policy issues. Romina, I'm going to start with you. How ironclad, you're familiar with the president's thinking, is the president's promise that he won't accept a budget that doesn't have border wall funding?
Well, I think arguably the president's hand was strongest to use this as a leverage point before the election and before about 80% of the budget was enacted into law. Defense, labor, HHS, those bills have already been taken care of. So any government shutdown now would be at best partial and very likely people wouldn't even notice it. So I don't think we'll see a partial government shutdown. What I could imagine is potentially punting until next year to give the next Congress an ability to shape those spending bills. That could look like another continuing resolution getting us into maybe January or February.
Mark, right after the House flipped to Democrat control last week after the midterms, the president actually opened the door a crack when asked whether he would insist on wall funding in exchange for, signing legislation to finance several key government agencies. He said not necessarily, and the president's been known to surprise. Where's the wiggle room on the Democrat side? What would they be willing to give?
Well, in exchange for the wall, Democrats might ask for some relief of DACA, the immigration program. But for the most part, these appropriation bills are a done deal. They already decided on the top line number. They already have options in the Senate and in the House. So they just need to work out these few little issues, for example, the wall, and move on to dealing with the bigger issues.
Mujeres, 14 mujeres, mujeres. Tengamos la fila, por favor, ¿verdad? Espérese. Ya le cabe. Ya. Despacio. Look at La Migra over there.